if the Warriors are not at least competitive tonight, because there's a couple characteristics that are, at this point in the year, I don't know if I want to call them head-scratching, frustrating, maybe a little bit of all of that. Here comes another good team. The Warriors don't beat good teams. The Warriors have a better road record than home record. God, by quick aside, if you want to think of all the little Bay Area sports factoids that you could have thrown at me last summer, and said, what would you say
Mark,
if this were true?
Hey.
I'd punch you in the face if you had told me that in March, the Warriors had a better road record than a home record. That's the stupidest thing I've ever heard in my life.
Well, you probably would have countered with, what are they, 16-50?
Right.
And they happen to be 8-22 on the road, exactly. And 8-21 at home.
So they gotta fix this stuff, man. They gotta fix this stuff right away. And I do think these are two very different. You talk a lot about a schedule loss, and I wonder if everybody even kind of has the feeling and vibe of what that is. And I think two things about Sunday. One, it was a schedule loss, and then the size of the loss was a different story that was based on circumstances, the way they kind of went about it, their fatigue, the fact that they pulled everybody, whatever. So that becomes a big whatever. But I'm going to change my tune about last Sunday if they go out there and get dominated again. Even if they play tonight, if you get a result like you did against Denver a week and a half ago, I find that to be a concern. This is a game. I'm not going to say the Warriors should win, but at minimum, this has got to be, what's the stat? Clutch stat? Is this a clutch game?
Right.
This better be. You better be within 5 with 5 minutes to go, or I'm going to sound an alarm and something's wrong. Something's wrong. I watched the Lakers the other night absolutely take apart the Oklahoma City Thunder. Them old 39-year-old Lakers were looking at all the little 23-year-old Thunder and running up and down the floor like it was the seniors versus the freshmen. And I'm like, how come the Warriors have never had a game like that? And by the way, when I said that yesterday, a line of people were like, they beat Boston, you dummy. That was in overtime. I'm not talking about have they won a good game.
Right.
I'm talking about have they totally outclassed a good team on a given night because you've got home court or the other team is missing its star. Right? They played the Clippers without Kawhi a few weeks ago. Looked like they were going to outclass them. Then they coughed up the game. They've done this a bunch. And I'm not going to call this a measuring stick or anything like that. Not sending any messages. I just think that it's March. It's March. And it's a game where you're at home and they're starting a road trip. They put out a bunch of energy 2 nights ago and they're down at least a man and maybe 2. And you are at full strength for the first time since 2002 or something like that.
Right.
This has to be a performance tonight. You cannot go out there and get outclassed. If you do, something's wrong. And I will be here tomorrow morning to call you the Dallas Cowboys of the NBA.
Well, and I'm looking back at their schedule, and I'm going backward, and I'm trying to find when the last quality win was in terms of what you're talking about. You beat Toronto, whatever. You beat New York, they were compromised. You beat Washington, they're not good. You beat Charlotte. You beat the Lakers, they didn't have LeBron. You beat Utah, they stink. You beat them twice. You go back to February 10th, you beat the Phoenix Suns at home. They had KD, they had Booker, they had Beal. That's a nice win. That's a nice home win. Yep. That's probably the last time you won a game that was a quality win, and it took
a Curry-gasm.
It did.
It took a miracle.
But a win.
Yes.
It's a win.
It's a win.
But that, if you go backward, that's the last victory. You beat Indiana on the road. You beat the Sixers twice. They didn't have Embiid. You beat Memphis. They've had nobody. You beat Chicago all the way back in January. They're not very good. You beat Detroit. You beat Orlando. You beat Portland. You beat Washington. You beat Boston in December in overtime.
Overtime.
You've got a win over Phoenix, a Curry-gasm, and you've got a win against Boston at home in overtime.
Yeah.
And I'm going back to mid-December.
You're going back to mid-December. It's a completely different team.
Right into your point as far as those wins, and you look at the Laker win over OKC, they were on the second half of a back-to-back. They played at Phoenix.
Exactly.
And you lost. I mean, you beat Phoenix by 8. You exerted. You had to dig deep. You beat Phoenix. You go to LA the next night, and you lose by 12. That's kind of a scheduled loss.
I don't want to hear any more about the scheduled losses. I'm looking for the scheduled wins.
Well, they don't have them, Mark.
Where are they?
They don't have them.
Where are they? And I don't want to hear
scheduled wins against actually good teams.
That's what I mean, right? Like I don't want to hear about they beat the Pacers on the road. The Pacers. Listen, here's what I can't do.
Good little team.
I'm never going to put it down to one night. I don't watch sports that way. I don't make huge narratives based on just last night. So it's not only about tonight, but if half of you, even half of you, and it feels like more, believe that the Warriors are capable of something in April and May, something, not a championship, but just something, capable of dancing with the big boys, then at some point, this is the NBA, and you are that team, and you've got great players. In your home gym, you should be able to dominate a good team. It hasn't happened all year. You just went to December. Keep going. Is there any? Go back to the beginning.
Oh, boy.
Have they dominated a top 6 team in their building all year long?
Going back, they beat Portland and Brooklyn.
Great.
They beat Portland. They beat the Clippers on November 30th, Mark. 120 to 114.
Okay, that's by 6.
Kawhi and Paul both played.
Yep.
Russell off the bench.
Yep.
I don't believe that they had the beard yet, but it's a nice home win.
Ish, yeah. Clippers.
They beat San Antonio and Houston.
Okay. I'm talking about outclassing somebody.
They beat the Adorables November 1st, Mark.
By
102-101.
Right. Was that the Klay Thompson buzzer beater?
It might have been, yeah.
That's right.
And then they lost to Phoenix in the opener.
When are you going to play a good team and look better?
At home.
At home. Look like you're like, dude, you're not beating us tonight. Stop.
0-1, 1-1, 1-2, 1-3, 1-4, 1-5, 1-6 at home. 2-6, you beat Houston. 3-6, you beat San Antonio. 4-6, you beat the Clippers. That's a nice win.
It's a nice win. It's a nice
5-6, you beat Portland by 4. 6-6, you beat Brooklyn by 4. You're hot. You beat Boston in overtime. That's a good win.
Yeah.
No matter how you slice it. 7-6, you beat Washington. 8-6, you beat Portland. You're 9-6 at home. You're cooking with gas. Lost to Miami. I was there, sitting next to FP. Brought my wife. Wah, wah, wah. He stunk. Lost to Dallas 9-8. Beat Orlando 10-8. Lost to Denver 10-9. Beat the Pistons by 4. Hello.
That was big.
11-9.
By the way, I
lost
just
to Toronto and New Orleans back to back. You're 11-11 at home.
I just scrolled. You're never gonna find it because it doesn't exist. Philly was here.
You beat a gutsy Atlanta team by 22.
Philly was here. Embiid left.
Yeah.
The Lakers were here. LeBron didn't play.
Dude, I'm going through all of it. The win over Phoenix with the Curry-gasm and the OT win over Boston.
Right. Great,
end of list.
Great wins, but like...
End of list.
But like by the hair on your chinny chin.
I got some long
Not
hair
yours.
now.
You got plenty.
I'm due to shave.
Right? That's...
No, you're right.
Tonight, this is the one. And it's not all about this, but the scenario, the situation, this calls for it. When are you going to actually make your fan base not sound silly? That's what I'm waiting for. And I'm not making fun of our listeners because I sound the exact same. But we are all running around right now with hope and a bag of chips. And it's like at a certain point, as the months go by, something in the realm of reality is going to have to buoy this run. It cannot just be history, names on the backs of jerseys, memories of confetti on market.
And wins over bad teams.
We can't do that. If you fancy yourself a good team, show the other good team. And the scenario is there tonight. I'm very interested. I think this is a different level regular season game. This is a different one. You are coming off an embarrassing loss.
Yeah.
You are back to your home building.
You got rest.
The calendar is flipped to March.
You're healthy.
You're still in the 10 seed. Oh, we're going to come up because you're still there.
Yeah.
I loved your tweet earlier. The Warriors have played their butts off. 17 games, they won 13 of them. And they have trimmed a 6-game deficit to 3 and simply moved from the 12 to the 10.
Right.
Making up ground in the NBA is flipping impossible. So you can't just, but we're playing Chicago tomorrow. No. I think tonight's a monster.
It is. It is. And you've got 10 home games left. And you've got Milwaukee, you've got Dallas, and you've got New Orleans in terms of the biggest games left. Yeah, New York is good. And if you want to play Indiana, 5. That would be the top 5 games remaining at home. But it's really tonight, Milwaukee, you've got Dallas coming up April 2nd, and you've got New Orleans in the second to last game of the year. Those are the last 3 really monster home games. The rest are mostly cupcakes. You've got Memphis, a couple of San Antonios, 2 Utahs, and a Portland. I mean, if those aren't wins, then what are we even doing here?
By the way, Giannis participated in shoot-around earlier today.
Okay.
And looked smiley.
All right.
As he took jump shots.
No grimaces?
No grimaces.
All right. He's playing.
But he remains questionable.
We'll check the line here as we go.